So my buddy gave me a bunch of hockey boards recently. I'm super thankful. He hooked me up. I got like 4 good ones and the R875, which I'm really hyped on. This is my favorite size deck. And these got some big shovel noses on there. We'll get more into like the hockey shape versus polar. I want to talk about wheel wells. I'm actually going to DIY some wheel wells on here because I honestly am at this point where I just can't skate a board without wheel wells. So we'll go into why and all that, but I'm going to show you how to make some if you want to do it to your board, or if you have a board that you want to experiment with. And I've done this in the past, like a long time ago, but I'm gonna use a different technique that I haven't seen anybody use, so I figured I'd kind of show you the process, and then we'll go break it in. I'll show you why wheel wells are really good, especially if you like riding loose trucks. So this board is a Manic skateboard made in a garage by Johnny Manic. I made a whole video about it, but it's based off a polar board that I really do love, shorter wheelbase. But if you see, I have wheel wells down here, and what that means is kind of dip down, and I get a little bit of extra turn. The reason that's really good for me is because I ride loose trucks, and also, even if you don't ride super loose trucks, it avoids getting wheel bite. So you're able actually to land tricks more, you're able to squirrel out of them. In my opinion, I almost can't ride a board without wheel wells now. So after I set everything up, after we get this DIY wheel well job done, I'm gonna break this board in. I'll show you why. I'll show you some examples of when the wheel wells really do come in handy. And actually, before I do that, I'll just show you right now that these are still digging. Like I have wheel wells, but I'm still got burn marks. Like when I fill this right here, there's a good groove just from my trucks going down. Of course you can say ride tighter trucks, but I like riding really loose trucks, and they're not wobbly loose, like pushing them down. They're not like weird trendy loose, like they're just a normal looseness. I normally actually just ride my H trucks just straight out of the bat as I get them. I don't tighten them down or loosen them. If anything, I tighten them down like 1 or 2 turns, so they're a little bit tighter than just like stock trucks. But I do skate a lot of bowl, skate a lot of transition, really tight transition. You need to get a lot of squirrely, and even landing flip tricks. Sometimes it's like nice to have that extra leverage just to make it out. So first thing we're gonna do is actually get this board open. And the one thing I did notice though, actually doesn't say the wheelbase on this board anywhere. It says the length. It is a 32.16 length, which is pretty normal. Hockey boards do have this like really big shovel nose, as you know, and they have really deep concaves. So, you know, someone could argue that you don't need wheel wells with something like this, but I actually can't skate a board without wheel wells. Well, I can, but I'm just at this point where I refuse to. So we're gonna DIY it, and I'm gonna do it a little bit of different technique than most people do, because I've heard people using like, you know, a jig, you put it on there, you burn it, or you even use a drill that has like a little sander, circular sander. But I'm just gonna use a regular sander because I don't have all that other stuff, but I do have a sander that will work. So wait, does it say up here, the wheelbase? No, it just says hockey, it's embedded. That's pretty cool, like a little laser hockey thing on the top. I gotta go pick up some grip from the local shop, but I figured first we'll do a little DIY wheel well job. And see, I haven't done it in a long time. I did this like one time years ago, but I used a Dremel. So this is gonna be a different technique that I've never seen done or never done myself. So let's try it out. Now, before we go any further, let me just say there's gonna be a lot of different ways to do this. So if you have any recommendations for easier ways, go ahead and comment down below. This is just the way that I think, I don't know, it just makes sense to me. I wanna try to be as accurate as possible and not too wasteful. So what I'm actually gonna do first is use my polar board, because you can see the wheel wells really well because of the different layers of the veneer to the other, you know, the 7 plies essentially. So I'm actually gonna trace this out. I'm not really like trace it, but what I'm gonna do is just use a piece of paper and kind of get an idea for the size of it. So basically, I'm just gonna like press down on it to get the idea. Of course, there's gonna be many better ways to do this. I wanna get the shape first. That's kind of what I'm trying to achieve right now. The rails are kind of in the way. Something like that, I guess. It's kind of the shape right there that I'm gonna use. Sort of our template. I'm gonna cut that out onto our other board. So what I'm gonna essentially use this for is like just the shape. I mean, you don't have to do this. You can do it like much more rogue, freestyle. I just figured I might as well try to do the best clean job. Or you can use a drill bit with like a sander edge on it, like a sander drill piece. All right, there we go. So essentially, that should fit like right in here. Yeah, you know, you got to keep in mind where the trucks are. So maybe it would have been smart to actually put my trucks on to do that, but I'm going to be a little lazy. There's sort of what we're doing right there. I'm going to try to line it up with the middle of our bolts right here. It's not going to be perfect, and this will give us a guide. I mean, the thing is, I'll probably sand through this guide. It gives me a general direction. There we go. Same thing on the other side. Those are our top 2 wheel wells. Now there's some markers for our front wheel wells, and they're definitely not super center looking at it. But again, this is DIY. It's not gonna be perfect. It's not a machine, you know? I mean, some people might have this guy's exact reaction when they see what I'm doing here. All right, now that we got all of our marks on there, we get the sander out and start making our wheel wells. I have this little Black & Decker sander. It's nothing crazy. It isn't cordless or anything like that, so I do have to plug it in. Then I got some extra sandpaper right here. And you can see it's already angled. So like, that's the nice part about this is it's got that nice edge right there, triangle edge, which will work to our advantage, I think. I don't know for sure. Like I said, this is definitely an experiment. I haven't done this before this way. I do want to wear a mask because something that I've learned from DIY and mixing concrete and stuff, don't want to breathe in dust, concrete, anything like that into your lungs. So gonna mask up and get down to business. All right, first little go, breathe it off. I think the one thing I'm noticing is I need to hit this edge and then work my way in instead of starting at the top. Got 7 plies, so I want to go down probably like 3 plies. I think that's a pretty standard wheel well. First layer right there. Yeah, 1 layer down. I want to get down like 1 more layer. Looks like we got down 2 plies, so 1 more ply, and then I think we'll be good. All right, so before I go too much further, I kind of want to test it out and just like see how it's looking compared to the polar board that I do have wheel wells on. The other thing you got to think about is like the front and back trucks do turn differently, so it almost should be in a different place. I noticed like my wheel bite marks are much lower in the front and then higher in the back. I'm just gonna bring it out a little more. Now that I have 1 on this side, I could just try to match it up. See how the sandpaper's doing. Ooh, yeah, might need another piece. Got the first 2 were on there, now I gotta move to the back. They're looking good. I mean, I kind of could have done them thinner, like not as big, but it is hard because there's a lot of surface on here, which is probably why people use the drill bit. But yeah, now I'm gonna move on to the back ones and go test this bad boy out. Whew. All right, that was a whole lot of sanding. I feel like my hand is vibrating right now. Still, we got them on there, all 4. Now I gotta go get some grip tape on here, go test it out, and we'll see how my marks were. We'll see if, you know, avoids me getting the wheel bites. We'll see where the wheels go down, see if the location's right. Obviously, like, at some point I kind of had to freestyle it, but I'm actually not too mad about it. I think it came out better than I even expected. So let's get some grip tape on, get a little session, see how these bad boys work out. Got the grip on there. I even got my rails on there. Got the local skate shop stickers on there. And we're here at John Landis Park. They're actually gonna be updating this park pretty soon. It's a nice, good flat ground area, so I'll be able to do some flat ground tricks. Got a flat rail here, a ledge. Basically just gonna get this board broken in and see how these wheel wells work with like flip tricks and stuff. I ride really loose trucks, like I was saying earlier. With flat ground, that can be a disadvantage. So yeah, gonna break it in. First session with the new board. So I broke this board in yesterday, it was good. Actually, one of the things I was trying yesterday was board side hurricane on the flat rail. That's something I've never done on a flat rail. So I think the wheel wells help. You can see still some burn marks, but because I don't land perfectly and I kind of land like on the side, I'm able to make my way out of it where I would get wheel bite typically. So that's where the wheel wells really do come to advantage. You can obviously argue that like you should just land the trick properly and not use the wheel wells as well. Wheels as well. Dang, that's a tongue twister. We're at another curb spot over here. Spencer's over there just laughing at me, struggling with my dialogue right now. But yeah, let's get a little session. All right, I'm gonna try to learn front board, front hurricane. I've done it backside. Stop the jump. Now for me, one of the areas where wheel wells really do help is transition, because you're doing a lot of tight turns, especially with like Smith grinds, nose grinds, things like that. I've been trying to learn frontside nose grinds, not grab, just like pop it out. So I want to try to get that trick today. Just skate some transition to show you how they really do help, especially with like back smiths, stuff like that, where your truck is really, really dipped. So we're getting some transition skating, and then I'll conclude this video like if it's worth doing these wheel wells yourself, or if you should just buy a deck that already has wheel wells. Obviously, like, it is a lot of work. Not that much work. I mean, it took me like maybe an hour to do it. So it depends on how much work you're willing to put in your board. Some people just want to grip it up and skate it. So yeah, in the video talking about whether or not I will do it again. Get one more session in the transition. I think things like a Jersey Bay are a good example where the wheel wells really do help, because you have to like pinch out of them. The transition is really steep, so without those, could have gotten wheel bite. Super fun lunch break session. Got some Smiths in, some grinds in. Kind of just did like the routine. Something I was talking about recently with like a homie is just like getting out during the week and just getting a quick session, like an hour. That was probably like 45 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, I'm not sure, but stay around too long. Like, try to focus on doing a trick like 3 or 4 times and just move on. So let's head back to the mini ramp. I want to talk about if I would consider doing wheel wells again, and talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages. And first thing is, are wheel wells worth it? In my opinion, obviously I've said it before, I think they're really worth it, especially if you like to ride loose trucks, big wheels without riser pads. And you know, of course, the other question is, why not ride riser pads? The one thing for me is just like, it makes your whole board higher. And what I mean by higher is like your whole trucks have to come up higher, even if it's a quarter bit of an inch. The difference there is you're losing a little bit of pop. So like the snap to the ground is higher up, so you're having to go lower to get that snap. Especially when it comes to like Smith grinds, things like that, it does make a difference. So it's not just like your pop, it's actually how you lock into tricks. So I like having that really close truck contact to board contact. Where that comes to a disadvantage is because I ride big wheels, like I was just saying, in loose trucks. So a lot of times I do get wheel bite, and I still do right now. The one thing that you can do, of course, is just wax your wheel wells. Some people might even say wheel bite is a good thing because you know where you're going wrong and you need to correct that. For me personally, I'm not a super clean skater. As you see in the first session when I was playing the flat rail, doing like board side hurricane, I was landing so sideways, but I was still able to get out of it. And in my opinion, skateboarding is about having fun. So if I can get little advantages, of course I'm gonna do that. I'm also the same person that rides rails. You know what I mean? Most people might say that rails are cheating or whatever. So I'm the type of person that just wants to have a really fun setup that I can skate everything with. So that's why I do the wheel wells. In essence, you know, there are different things you can do, like the riser pads, stuff like that. I don't like them. I also think like riser pads add a little bit of some, you know, what would you call that? Like they smooth the ride out, which may be a good thing or a bad thing. I just really like the feeling of the metal on the wood versus having anything plastic in between. Yeah, in my opinion, I'm just not super into riser pads. So this is like the good option for me, is these wheel wells. Now let's talk about whether or not I'll do it again. It was quite a lot of work to get these in there. The one thing I'm actually considering is I can go back in here and even get them deeper. I am like 3 plies down out of my 7 plies. So, you know, it does weaken the board a little bit. I think that's one argument that people have. The other thing I've seen with some boards is actually they do circulars wheel wells and they don't even go to the edge. That's what I think wouldn't really weaken your board that much. Like if they were just here and the edge still had all the 7 plies, that might be one way to go about it. I've only seen a few boards do that. Most of the time when they're like factory made, they actually go all the way out to the edge. I'm guessing it's just like easier way to do it. Something I want to think about though is other ways to make the wheel wells. So there's gonna be some different things when you have different trucks, right? Like different trucks have a different geometry. That's what I'm getting at. And where your wheels go down is gonna depend on your geometry, on your wheelbase, everything like that. So I think having like a big area is smart if you're just gonna make a board for different trucks, different wheels and stuff like that. If you're making a board specific to the one size truck, one brand truck, one geometry, one size wheel, then maybe you can like make a smaller amount of space with your wheel wells. But yeah, in general, I think that's why they're a lot bigger. So to answer my my own question, would I do it again? I think it depends. If I find a board that I really like, I will do it too, that doesn't have wheel wells. Typically, I try to buy boards or get boards that already have them on there so I don't have to do this. Like I said in the very beginning of this video, my friend Matt gave me a couple of these hockey boards to experiment with, so I will be doing it to all the hockey boards because I just feel like not only does it give me a lot of advantages, it also makes me feel cool to have like this custom board. It's more tailored to me. It's all the same reason that like I normally try to do a little bit of custom grip and stuff just to like make it feel special. I think at the end of the day, like it makes you more excited to ride it. And that's what skateboarding is about for me. It's like having fun, feeling good, and just enjoying the process. It's not always just like riding the actual board, but setting up something that I really like. So yeah, would I do it again? I think I will do it again if I get some more boards where they don't have it. Typically, I would just buy boards that already have wheel wells. Of course, for me, this is just like a good experiment, a good reason to make videos about doing it. I have made a video previously in the past of actually using a Dremel, being a little more precise with it. Disadvantages would probably just be putting in the time, weakening the board if you really think it's going to weaken it. I'm sure it does. For me, it's not a big problem. I would say like, you know, putting the rails on there is also weakening the board, right? You're constantly weakening the board by just skating it. So like not skating the board is probably the best way to not weaken it. To me, it's just not a big concern, I guess. And I think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. The other thing I was going to say was Smith grinds. As you can see at the park, I was doing a lot of Smith grinds and even crooked, the same thing. Like if you can really pitch that crooked, you have like even more of a lock spot. And someone might say, hey, I want to have that period where it hits the actual board because it stops them from going. That might be their lock spot, and that could be what works for them. What works for them might not work for you. What works for me might not work for you. It's always about just like finding what does work for you. And I've always found that wheel wells are really fun. My friend Matt recently got some too, Kriegel, and he was saying how he loves them. Now he can't go back. So it's one of those things like if you find advantages to them, I would definitely suggest doing it. Maybe before you buy a board with wheel wells or you have an old board, try them out. Add some like I did to this board. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna try to end this video doing some frontside nose grind, no yank out. That's a new trick. I only did it like the other day for the first time, but I think that will also help like just really dig into that front nose and pop out here on the mini ramp. Let's try a few.